Well, here we are on a Saturday afternoon, and of course, this is the only place that you can consistently get Tesla news on Saturday afternoon. We try to cover everything that happened in the last 24 hours. And let's start with this. We've got from Tesla Newswire, Tesla is ramping up production of the upgraded Model Y Juniper at Giga Shanghai, nearing 600 units per day. It says this marks a major jump, representing about 1/3 of the current Model Y output, with a max capacity of around 2,600 units daily. To me, 600 compared to 2,600 would be 1/4, but that's okay. Just 4 days ago, production was only at 200 units per day, so this is a massive leap in the units per day. Wonder where they're storing all of these, or if they're starting to send them out to the local delivery centers. By the way, it's interesting. I don't know if they're starting to even sell them on the Shanghai website or not under the Juniper branding. Anyway, there you go. Connecting the dots says this. He says, breaking, Tesla enters the top 20 hedge funds equity positions. This is interesting only because it goes from the most shorted to the most held list in just 6 months. YWR periodically analyzes the top 20 equity positions at the 338 hedge funds to see which equity positions are most commonly owned. That's the top 21 most consensus list. And this month, for the first time ever, Tesla secured a spot on the list, jumping to number 11. All right. AJ says this. He says, here is why it's exceptionally unlikely for anyone to ever outsmart Elon. He said, this is responding to Spark Paul, who said, the more I read and understand about Elon, the more I know the intellectual gap between him and I. Well, there you go. 10 plus years ago, Elon said he wanted to go to Mars. I thought it was an eccentric and fantastical thing. Now nobody doubts him. So here's AJ's analysis of Elon. Maybe we could add a chapter to the Elon Musk method. He says, number one, his high intelligence. We don't know what his IQ score is, but it's probably pretty high. It's obvious. Yeah, and some people feel like, anything over about 150, 160 sometimes works kind of against you on the practical level. He probably isn't anything under 140, although there have been some very, very, very successful people with IQs under 140. Number two, an exceptional work ethic. Can anybody question it? I mean, there's nobody, I can't remember ever hearing about anybody that works more hours, more time per day, without vacations, without weekends, without anything. I just, no. Are you aware? Let me know in the comments if you know about somebody that works harder. Number three, working on high impact projects, not useless dumb stuff. Driving more valuable experience increases per unit of time. So he works on these gigantic things, which means that he gets gigantic experience. He gets experience dealing with hundreds of thousands of people, or he gets experience building massive buildings. I mean, all of this, whatever he's doing, massive rockets, coming up with full self-driving, all these things are giving him experience that nobody else can compare with. Then he says, number four, not the youngest anymore, has benefited from many years of learning. I'm not sure. I mean, that's an advantage. That's why I'm as brilliant and wise as I am, because I'm really old. Okay, put it all together. Elon's judgment equals the combination of A, B, C, and D. That's why it's exceptionally unlikely for anybody to outsmart Elon, since you have to outperform significantly in one of those areas, A to D. Let's see what that would entail. So on intelligence, you'd have to be a, 1/10. Yeah. Again, you'd probably have to be like a 140 to 160 in intelligence in order to be in his category. And then we're talking about there's different kinds of intelligence. So you would have to be, in order to beat him in rocketry, you get the point? I don't have to go down the whole list. In order to beat him in rocketry, you'd have to have a capability and understanding of physics and materials science and all the rest, in order to beat him in computer science. I mean, nobody's beating him. There's not a soul on the planet beating him in computer science. And just keep going down the list. Number is the intensity. Well, you can't beat him meaningfully here, since he's already working at close to the limits of human physiology. He says he sleeps 6.5 hours a day because he found he really worked on it, and that was the ideal amount. Shockingly, that is my ideal amount as well. Although as I get older and older, I find that at 6.5 hours, I do end up with a nap on a lot of days. Number C, complexity. Who is working on more value additive things? Don't know. Probably there's nobody ever who has worked on more value added opportunities. I mean, you've got Edison, you've got all the people that have been mentioned before, Carnegie building steel mills. I mean, you've got people that have worked on extremely complex things before in time, but not the breadth of what he is working on. And then D time, this is all, he's 53, I think, I forget now, 52, 53. Yeah, I mean, there's people that are older than him. Jensen's older than him. So some people would have had a little more time. Anyway, bottom line, unless you're an exceptionally intelligent person, worked all your rear end off, worked most of the time on highly complex tasks, and you are currently about 55 to 55 years or older, you'll have realistically no chance of competing with Elon. So an interesting take. He says, accept it and don't assume you can outsmart him. Well, there was a lot of back and forth discussing whether FSD is almost ready or not by a lot of really smart people. But I like this one from Jeff Lutz, who's one of the really smart people out there. He says, I recommend listening to the company about where we are on FSD. He says, he's been talking about this for months and people keep forgetting his analysis on this. You're talking about the concept of scaling laws, and you use the product yourself, and then you pressure test it for relative improvement. I'm surprised anybody, he says, is pointing people to the FSD tracker when you don't know the inputs, the measurement system, the consistency, and the statistical significance of what is posted. So the tracker is fine and it's interesting and it can be slightly useful. It can be one data point. But the reality is Tesla is sitting there with bajillions. I mean, but who knows what the number would be of data points. They know exactly what's happening after a disengagement. They know what happens even after an accident. They know what happens even when there's no disengagement and there's something that they see that is unique that they need to deal with. So they know all this very, very well. And believe me, they're paying attention to your disengagements and what you say, and they're also paying attention to X. This is one of the great benefits of X to Tesla is that we're talking about it on X and on YouTube and elsewhere, and they get that benefit. Somebody, believe me, is monitoring all of it. This is Randy Kirk, by the way. Did you know that? So like, subscribe, notify, and send money to Patreon. That would be just so lovely. Holiday spend. Oh, by the way, there'll be one more show tonight. Did you know that? There's actually one more show coming. I am going to break down if I could get it, if they would give me the interview with Elon, or, if John got the interview, which he's still owed the interview, Dr. John, if he got the interview and he said, Randy, give me some questions I can take to Elon. I've got 10 juicy, amazing, really great questions that I would love to ask Elon right now. That's what's going to be the late show tonight. All right. In the general news, holiday spending boom leaves Americans drowning in debt. This is from Mario Nawfal, but it's actually from the New York Post. Shoppers splurged nearly $1 trillion this season, smashing all records. I heard it was up about 4%. Maybe it'll say that in the article. But their credit cards are crying out for help. Debt hit an all-time high of 1.17 trillion. That's up 24 billion in just 3 months. With 36% of consumers taking on debt and this average borrower racking up 1,181, the holiday cheer might be short-lived. I wish my credit cards were only at 1,181. What about you? Retailers are celebrating, but for many Americans, the cost of happy holidays could take all year to pay off. And then the final news of the day is the Taliban. The Taliban has invaded Pakistan. No real clarity yet on the news on any of that. Some people are saying it's a massive invasion, it's a very significant invasion. I don't know what kind of force, I don't know, what capabilities the Taliban has to do any damage to Pakistan, who is a nuclear capable. I don't know what's going on there, but it's worth noting. So we might want to pay attention to this as the weekend continues on. I'll see if I can give you more about this tomorrow night. Now, remember, tomorrow night, Well, we have a regular program in the morning. I probably don't do a program in the middle of the day because it's football. I mean, there's football today. You notice this show's not coming out until now. I might do a late show like I've been doing. I haven't thought about that. I could do that on Sunday. I could have a show at 7:45 after my show at 5 o'clock. Yeah. How about that? Maybe I'll do that. We'll see. We'll see if I have enough to say. Okay. But of course, the main show tomorrow, the show that you never want to miss, is the Sunday afternoon show or 5 o'clock show, California time, which is where we look at the week in advance. We look at what's coming during, again, another shortened week, another week where there will be, probably not as much trading. Maybe after New Year's on the 2nd, it'll start to pick up. A week in which we will get the numbers from Tesla on Thursday. So a lot of stuff coming up, and I'll do that tomorrow night again around 5 o'clock. What else? Oh, yeah. Again, 𝐒𝐮𝐧𝐝𝐚𝐲 Basher, if you haven't watched it now, by the way, the numbers have gone up a lot. Apparently, a bunch of you took me up this morning on that. So there are more and more people watching this show he did on Bitcoin. I know it's an hour and 15 minutes. You don't have to watch all of it. Maybe you'll get halfway through and go, okay, I get it. Or maybe that maybe half an hour or 45 minutes will tell you, oh no, I need to hear the rest of this. Because it is now becoming an issue which anybody that is financially inclined, anybody that's got money in the market, anybody that pays attention to the economy, that's why you're on my show. I assume that you're listening to my show because I combine all of it. Okay, well, I'm going to put the card up again here to go back and take a look at what 𝐒𝐮𝐧𝐝𝐚𝐲 Basher had to say. What did I talk about this morning? I don't even remember. That's sad. It could be. I know it could be on, early on. No, I don't have any clear evidence of Alzheimer's yet. Well, don't tell me if I do. All right. Oh, you did tell me already, and I forgot. All right. Well, that's all I've got for you right now. It's been great talking to you.